on this absolutely massive Clip Service Pod episode. We're going to talk about something that I think has been brewing for a while, and it finally happened. Kawhi Leonard is no longer a Clipper, was traded back to the Toronto Raptors to maybe finish what he started, kind of fulfill the feel-good story in exchange for Brandon Ingram, Gradey Dick, some draft capital. We'll get into the details of that on the episode. It kind of hasn't hit yet, but it did happen, guys, and we'll talk about all of that. We're going to talk a bit about the draft. We haven't addressed that since we last spoke. Keaton Wagler is a LA Clipper. Super excited to get into that, as well as Baba Miller and Nick Martinelli, the other draft picks. Going to talk a little bit about some rumors, maybe some future moves that the Clippers can make, but a couple of guys that we got to say goodbye to. This roster is going to look quite a bit different moving on to next year, but the new era is finally in full swing. So much to talk about, so let's get right into it. Without further ado, let's make it happen.
What is up, Clipper Nation?
Oh, I haven't seen Rola this cheerful in a long time.
To the Clip Service Podcast. Make sure to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Amazon Music, and YouTube. And you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Clip Service Pod. I'm Rola. This is my co-host, Nick. Let's get right into it.
Let's get right into it. And Rola is so excited. I mean, this is a level of cheer that we really haven't seen yet from Rola. And I would imagine that the reason is the thing that we're all here to talk about, amongst many other things. But the thing that we want to address first is Kawhi Leonard has officially, I mean, I guess the deal has been agreed upon. It's not finalized yet. But Kawhi Leonard has officially been traded back to the Toronto Raptors. After 7 years for playing, 7 years of playing with the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard is no longer in the city of LA. Really, just a wild feeling. I mean, obviously 7 years ago, Kawhi Leonard chose to play for the Clippers. And, you know, during that time, at that moment, you know, it was such an insane feeling. I mean, someone of that caliber, arguably the best player in the world at the time, choosing to play for the Clippers. Obviously, it came at the expense of him choosing to opt for playing with another star, which led to the Clippers trading for Paul George. Obviously, we lost Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a bunch of picks in that transaction, and we know we're not going to get into that. But 7 years ago was the day that it happened, or was the time that it happened, and it has been an absolute roller coaster the last 7 years. There's been some really high highs and a lot of extremely low lows. So before I break down my thought process, I think what we really want to hear is Rola's thought process, because I think this is Christmas. You know, this is Christmas for Rola. Christmas came early. Rola, tell me how, I'm assuming that you're excited. Tell me how excited you are, and tell me what you feel, how you feel about this trade.
Yeah, man. I feel good, man. So, you know, I always talk about this, but the one really cool thing about having a podcast and having like episodes out there and having like audio recordings is I can always go back and see when I start to realize things.
Check the receipts.
Checking the receipts and, you know, kind of going back like 2, 3, I think even 4 years now, you know, shouting and screaming on the Clippers to move forward from Kawhi, from Paul George, from James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and to finally see the end of the era that was never going to work for us finally come to fruition it feels good. I feel so validated, and it almost makes me feel like I should be, running shit for the Clippers, because
that's exactly what I was gonna say. This is your start,
bro. People were telling me I'm crazy. People were telling me no, Kawhi just needs to be healthy. But they say call a spade a spade. He was never gonna win for us. He was never gonna win a championship for us. Paul George was never gonna win a championship for us. James Harden definitely wasn't gonna win a championship for us. I mean, we're seeing James Harden go to another team and choke the same way he was choking on the Clippers, the same way he was choking on Houston, the same way he was choking on OKC. We're picking up guys who have a loser mentality, and I think that was the reason why the Clippers were never going to work out. I think the reason why Kawhi was so successful on the Raptors, on the Spurs, was because he was put into he was surrounded by people who wanted to win. And I don't think that was the case when he came to Clippers. He was the guy to give that energy to the rest of the team, which he could not do. So I thought it was a great experience. Like you said earlier, Nick, it was surreal at the time when Kawhi was chose to come to the Clippers, because I don't think any big star since him had ever chosen to come to the Clippers.
It's unheard of.
The Lakers,
like truly
unheard of.
Yeah.
And it was like over the Lakers, he chose the Clippers, which was like, people were like, "Why would you do that? Like, what are you thinking?" But it was really cool of him. Again, like, he put the Clippers on the map again. Even though we did have a lot of hype with like Lou Will and that Pat Bev team, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But, what we wanted from him was a championship. The same reason the Raptors picked him up. It was to win a championship. And I do not think that mentality was the same from Kawhi. I don't think that he was 100% in on winning a championship for the Clippers, and I think that to win a championship, you do need to be 100% in. And it is what it is. I've said this in a prior pod. I look at Kawhi in a worse light than I do Paul George. I think that this is a guy who never even really truly tried to win a chip. They talked about wait till he's healthy, and we still couldn't get past the first round. At least with Paul George, he took us to the Western Conference Finals. Kawhi didn't really take us anywhere that we haven't been before. So people, chalk it up to injuries, chalk it up to whatever you want. At the end of the day, he'll go down in history as a guy, another superstar in the Clippers, with the likes of Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, who was never able to get the job done. And I'm happy to finally move on to the next era, and hopefully Keaton Wagler can do that for us, and some of the new guys that we got coming up. Nick, take it away.
Yeah, no, I share a lot of that. I think I still look at Kawhi. Obviously, the Kawhi experiment, the Kawhi era, was an utter failure. Like, in terms of what the expectations were. And, it's not all on Kawhi. It's, a mixture of a lot of things. Ty Lue can take a lot of blame. Lawrence Frank can take a lot of blame for, not putting the right guys. I mean, that 2021 team, I think, was as perfect as it was going to get. Like, that team, I believe, should have won it all. But obviously you had, and that was, to me, Kawhi Leonard in that first round series against Dallas, like, that was some of the best basketball I've ever seen a Clipper play. What Luka was like surging, and he was really like striking fear, I think, into like single-handedly striking fear into the team, into the fans. And Kawhi Leonard rose to the occasion and really showed Luka and the Mavs, like, not this time. He was the driving force behind that Mavs series. Then, of course, he looked great in the first couple games against the Jazz. Then you have the ACL or MCL tear. I can't remember which one it was, when he bumped with Joe Ingles. MCL. You have the MCL tear, and then the rest of the way it was a committee. It was Paul George. I mean, Paul George was amazing. Then you have Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann, You have all these other guys stepping up. But all that to say, like, you know, the moments that Kawhi Leonard has, stepped up for the Clippers, and I recognize there are moments that he has, were really special. But at the end of the day, this whole era and this experiment that he ushered in was a failure. And Rola, you touched on a good point, dude. Like, it was Paul George that led us to the conference finals. And granted, obviously, if Kawhi Leonard was healthy, I think we would have won the championship that year. But the fact of the matter is, he was not.
Can I just say something super, super quick?
Yeah, please.
And this might be a hot take, but is it crazy to say that Paul George was the 1A of the team, even though, on paper, Kawhi was 1A? I feel like Paul George was 1A because he was at least always there. You know what I mean?
I think there's a case to be made, and I think that not only was he and I wouldn't say he was always there. Paul George had his fair share of injuries as well. I mean, he didn't play when he came to the Clippers. He didn't play like the first half of that season.
Right.
But I think that not only was he more available, but he was just a better spokesperson for the team. That was something that I really liked about James Harden. Like, I know that a lot of Clipper fans dismiss the James Harden like stint with the Clippers, and I obviously understand why. But the one thing that I really liked about James Harden was he was a really good steward of the team. Like, he gave the franchise their flowers, and he really like represented the Clippers well. I think, when he was given the opportunity, and Paul George did that as well. I mean, Paul George also had a tendency to put his foot in his mouth, but he repped the Clippers in a way that Kawhi really didn't. And so for that reason, I think there is a case to be made that that Paul George was a better Clipper than Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, the way that he left was extremely sour, and Paul George is like the biggest excuse maker, that I've seen in a long time.
Right.
And he always took to the podcast and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think that he was a better representative of the team, or I think that there's a case to be made that he was. So I don't think that's a crazy take at all. I think that when we signed Kawhi Leonard, I think that was something that we knew. He's a man of few words, keeps everything very close to close to home and tight-lipped and everything. So we knew that was going to be the case. But I do agree. I mean, I think that if you're not going to speak like highly about the Clippers and represent the Clippers openly, vocally, then you better show it on the court. And I'm going to just put like the injury stuff. That's kind of a different thing. And I'm glad to be rid of that. I think that's the thing that I'm going to be happiest about, is not having to worry about, is Kawhi Leonard going to put together a healthy season? But, I mean, when we look at, like, Kawhi Leonard's injuries and stuff like that, I'm really not going to hold that against him. It's unfortunate, and it's the way that it went, and it comes with the territory of having a guy like Kawhi Leonard. But, I mean, there were moments when he just didn't get it done on the floor either. I mean, you look at the bubble. Him and Paul George were awful when we had a chance to go to the conference finals, beat that Nuggets team, and we, unfortunately, blew another 3-1 lead. Obviously, I put a lot of that on Doc as well. But, I mean, your two best players should give you everything that you need to overcome a 3-1 or to get a 3-1 lead to 4-1.
Yeah.
So there was that. I mean, and then, there were moments in between. I think a lot of that was a product of poor health and injury troubles. But I mean, the most recent one was the play-in game against the Warriors. And not only that, the few games against the Trailblazers and the Pelicans that we needed to win to try and get out of the play-in, or at least get a more favorable position.
Yep.
And Kawhi Leonard wasn't able to get us wins in those games. And so, so like, if you're not going to be a vocal supporter of the team, you have to show it on the court. And when there were times that we needed him, I'm making Rola emotional because this is something that he's wanted to hear from me for a long time, bro, and that's the thing,
bro.
I'm rambling on. I'm just gonna say all that to say,
bro. This is deep. Go
all
off.
That to say, bars. All of that to say, I think that it's an easier pill to swallow. Like, I wasn't ready to trade Kawhi for nothing. And I wasn't ready to completely jettison all of our chances to be competitive when we don't own any draft picks, we have no draft capital, and we
Right.
have no young players. And it all started, and I touched upon this, like, I think in last episode, but when we started to acquire guys like Darius Garland in exchange for James Harden, and we get guys like Ben Mathurin and stuff, then you started to see, okay, like, we might actually lean into this youth movement. And then, when we got that 5th pick, and we drafted Keaton Wagler, to me, the ideas of that I had of holding on to this competitive team that needs to contend, spearheaded by Kawhi Leonard, that all went away. Because now we have that insurance policy of, okay, here's our starting point. We actually have, like, I don't want to, like, as much as I love, like, the two-way players and, like, the second round guys like Kobe Sanders and Jordan Miller, Terrence Mann, how much, like, I love all of those guys. I don't really want to start a franchise, like, I don't want to start the direction of like a new era with those guys only. You know, I want like these pillars, and we have that now. And so it's an easier pill to swallow for me. The Kawhi Leonard trade, I personally, I'm still gonna miss watching him play, because when he's healthy, I mean, he's one of my favorite players to watch. But it just, all the extra shit. I mean, and we still have this aspiration thing that we have no answer on. So it's like all the extra shit that came with Kawhi Leonard, that outweighs watching him play for the team. And, you know, I'm just happy to be rid of all of that. And I'm happy that, you know, obviously there's still moves to be made for that the Clippers have to make, and we'll touch on that in a second. But the expectations are so different now. And I think, and it's not like there's no expectations and our team sucks. Like, we might not be very good, but at least there's a general direction. And I'm so happy that I can support a team that, yeah, the expectations are lower and we might not keep our winning season streak going, but at least these are the building blocks to get to being a team like the Thunder or the Spurs or the Pistons. Like, all of these young franchises that organically built these contenders or these contender level teams, now we're on the path to that. So all that to say, obviously it's been a real Kawhi. You know, there were some really great moments that Kawhi was a part of, but all that to say, I am happy, very, very happy to move into this new era of Clipper basketball. So, Rola, did you have anything else you wanted to say about Kawhi before I touch on something to piggyback off the new era?
Yeah, real quick. Sorry. I just wanted to really quick go over the trade and what exactly we got for Kawhi.
Oh yeah, we didn't even we didn't even talk about that part.
Yeah. So we are trading Kawhi Leonard to the Toronto Raptors for Brandon Ingram, Gradey Dick, 2 first-round picks, 1 in 2031 and 1 in 2033, and 2 second-round picks,
unprotected,
1 in 2030.
Huge.
Yeah, and 1 in 2033 and a 2027 first-round swap. That is the full trade for Kawhi Leonard, which I think we got a haul for Kawhi Leonard. How old is Kawhi now? 35, 36?
Just turned 30. Or yeah, maybe 30, just turned 36.
30. Yeah, he did. His birthday was the other day or yesterday. Just turned 36-year-old Kawhi Leonard, who is unfortunately very injury prone. Last time we saw him, he got shut down by an old-ass Draymond Green. To be honest, they can have Kawhi.
He did have an amazing season this last year. I will give him that.
But the thing is, dude, what bothers me about people talking about the regular season is that every star has an amazing regular season, dude. What it comes down to is, can you be that same star? Can you be that same superstar when it really matters? And when it really mattered, Kawhi got shut down by Draymond Green for an entire quarter with the life of the Clippers on the line, bro. It's done. He was supposed to come to the Clippers to be that guy, to take us over the hump, take us to that next level, to do what he did on the Toronto Raptors, the first stint with us, and he did not do that. So, you know, like I said, I think we got a haul for him. I think we got a lot. I think we got
are you happy we got Dick?
Dude, we got so much Dick. Pause. Brandon Ingram, for the longest time, well, I think he's still well, probably not anymore, but Brandon Ingram has hated the Clippers, has hated players.
Oh yeah, the Pelicans.
The Clippers,
Pelicans. Ingram was the worst.
Lakers. He's never liked the Clippers, so it's kind of awkward now that he's a Clipper. But I do like his energy. I do like what he brings to the game. I feel like he is like a for real Kawhi Leonard in the sense of all.
Okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's pump the brakes a little bit.
No, not in skills. I mean, like in his personality, where like he doesn't care about anything else. He doesn't care about the extra shit. He's never in the media for little shit here and there. I mean, the only thing he's in the media for is because he's dating Glorilla.
I was like, just about to ask you, are they still together?
I mean, I think so. I've seen her.
Are we about to get Glorilla stands?
I mean, I'm down, bro. I love Glorilla, but that's like the only thing. When you think about Brandon Ingram, you think about nothing. You think about him balling, being an all-star. So, I'm really happy with what we got. Gradey Dick will be a hard player.
Yeah, right. Yep.
He will be
he can shoot it long.
Player.
He can shoot it long.
He can shoot long. But yeah, no.
If he stays with the team, this is gonna supersede any Amir Coffee puns. Like the Dick jokes are gonna be on another level.
I'm getting a Dick jersey, bro.
You got to
a jersey with Dick on it. Pause.
You have to. No
pause. No, but for real, I think that like our young team that we currently have is exactly what I've been wanting to see. Spearheaded by Keaton Wagler and Darius Garland. And I'm very, very excited. I've said that the OKC has given the league the blueprint to win in the league currently. It's not about having a big three. It's not about having James Harden, Kawhi, Paul George on the same team, Russell Westbrook. It's done. Those guys are going to lose to a OKC, to a Spurs, to a Pacers, to a Pistons team all day. When you don't have guys that can keep up, it doesn't matter how skillful they are offensively. I think that those younger type of players that want it is the key to winning a chip. And I think that we are currently taking the first step, which is very exciting because as a Clipper fan, I've never seen us win a championship. So, I keep saying that I want to see the Clippers win before I die. And, it looks like we're heading in the right direction. I'm currently, about to turn 30. So we still got a couple more years to go, hopefully, before I pass away from this earth. But,
hopefully we got a while before that happens. But
but I need to see the Clippers win a chip, dude. And I for years had been saying we were not on that path. We were not, on the level to beat, an OKC type of team.
Sure.
So we'll see. I mean, I think this is going to be a really exciting season. But
I think
sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to go over the full trade.
Well, no, I'm glad you did because I literally would have just moved on and not talked about it. I do think it's important to touch on, if the Clippers do keep Brandon Ingram, which I think they probably will, now that some of the bigger pieces, and we'll talk about that later on in the episode, some of the bigger pieces that were supposed to be on the trade market have been traded. I do think the Clippers will keep Brandon Ingram. I think the Dick will maybe move. I think there might be a Dick flip.
But
yeah, I do think that he gets flipped for another piece, and we're jumping the gun here, but I think that the Clippers are in a really interesting position with who they have in their roster. I think that there are moves to be made, and like I said, we'll talk about that in a second. But I think if there are players that get moved, I think Gradey Dick might be one of those guys. If not, I would love to have Dick.
Damn.
I mean, I think that he was a lottery pick. He was, he hasn't really lived up to his, what we thought his standards would be so far. He can shoot the long ball. He's surprisingly athletic. I think he's a solid player at his core. He just hasn't really played consistently to the abilities that we maybe thought he would coming into the draft. But I think that he's only 22, 21, something like that. There's still a really good player there. So. Mm-hmm. And then the draft capital. I think that whether we decide to move some of these draft picks for another player, younger player, or if we decide to keep them, I think these are all things that the Clippers didn't have before, and I think that's amazing. But if we're on the topic of like younger players, I wanted to jump into the next thing that we're going to talk about, and that is the Clippers draft. Obviously, for those of you that don't know, the Clippers drafted Keaton Wagler out of Illinois with the 5th pick in the 2026 NBA draft. It was kind of in between him and Michael Brown Jr. For the most part. Acuff wasn't really in my opinion, wasn't really in the realm of possible. I mean, I guess it was possible, but wasn't really on the radar. So the Clippers got their guy. I am super excited, man. Like, a big guard. Obviously, he's still got to put on some muscle. He's got to improve his athleticism a little bit, but the guy can shoot lights out. Really high character dude. He can make plays. He can play off ball. He can play on ball. And honestly, I don't think he's done growing too. Like, being 6'6" already is huge, but he's only 19 years old. I think that, like, not only do I think that he'll fill out and put on muscle, but there's a chance that he grows a little bit too. So, like, I think sky's the limit for Wagler. There are obviously weaknesses in his game, the biggest one being his lack of athleticism, or at least the lack of athleticism that he utilizes. He's more of a below the rim kind of guy, shoot the long ball. He's really crafty. He gets around guys instead of like necessarily going through them. But man, I'm super excited. I was actually at, there was an event, the day after, we picked Keaton Wagler, where he kind of did a Q&A, and the kid just seems like he's got a really good head on his shoulders. Lawrence Frank talked about it, and then Keaton Wagler talked about it as well, but it seems like he's very, very comfortable figuring things out on the fly, kind of like putting the puzzle pieces together. When he's on the court, if he can't score from one side of the floor, he'll figure out how to score in a different way. Like, he seems like he's just willing to learn and adapt, and I think that is something that's really, really important, especially with a guy that doesn't maybe have like the athleticism and the strength and the physical presence like guys like Debansa and Caleb Wilson and guys like that, Cam Boozer. I think when you lack those things, I think that you can absolutely make up for it with just understanding the game and having a feel for the game. And from everything that I've heard and everything that I've seen, Keaton Wagler might have the highest IQ in the entire draft. So I'm really, really excited to welcome the highest pick that the Clippers have had since Blake Griffin. I'm really excited to see what he does at, Summer League's only a couple weeks away. So that'll be the first chance that we get to see him. The Clippers also drafted Boba Miller out of Cincinnati. 6'11", point forward, super, super athletic, a really good defender. I think that he can improve on his shooting. Really, really interesting prospect. I look at him as kind of like a Naz Reid archetype. Obviously doesn't necessarily shoot the ball at the same level, but I mean, the mobility at his size and the fluidity with his movements. I mean, he plays like a guard, and he's 6'11". Really excited to welcome Boba Miller to the franchise. And then with the later second round pick, with our final pick, we drafted Nick Martinelli out of Northwestern, senior. Big, strong forward, scores from mid range, is really good at getting to the hoop. He's also just like a chill dude. I think that the vibes from him are going to be great. The Clippers, I think, are going to use a 2-way contract on him, but really, really good scorer, one of the better scorers in college. Last year, had a phenomenal senior year at Northwestern. So I think the Clippers absolutely knocked it out of the park in this draft. I think Lawrence Frank and the team did a really good job. Sorry for rambling on. Rola, what are your just off the cuff, off the bat opinions on the draft for the Clippers this year?
Like you said, I think it was a really good draft. I know one of your gripes with Lawrence Frank was that you didn't trust him going into the next phase of the Clippers. And, I think I retaliated by saying that I feel like Lawrence Frank has always been good at drafting. Well, I know it's not him, but I do think that his team, or the scouting team of the Clippers, is one of the best. I think every year we, make great draft picks, And I think going back to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think every year we've had at least one draft pick that has really made material, substantial changes and positive outputs to our team. And I think that we'll see the same thing again this upcoming season with Keaton Wagler. I think that they drafted him with almost like a mentality of we're drafting a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 2.0 because
it's certainly possible.
We drafted a very tall, long guard who plays at his pace, who isn't the most athletic, who's able to draw fouls, who's able to, express his creativity in scoring and getting his teammates open. And that's exactly what I felt like they saw with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander when they drafted him in 2018, 2019?
When we drafted Shai?
Yeah. Was that
2019?
Was that 2019? Yeah, 2019. Yeah. So I think he's going to be a great fit, man. Like, I think with the Clippers having the blueprint in developing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think they're going to do the same thing with Keaton Wagler. And I'm excited to see where he takes us. I mean, even looking at March Madness, how far Illinois went in March Madness. I mean, like led by Keaton Wagler. It
was the farthest they've gone in a long time too.
Exactly. It's pretty obvious to see that he likes the competition. He rises when the game gets difficult. And I think this season we might see him, I think there'll be highs and lows. And I think that because we have, good point guards, Darius Garland, hopefully Ben Mathurin, we'll see him really develop. But, I haven't really looked too deep into our other picks. But,
I think you'll really like Baba Miller. I mean, right. I think the prototype is something that could be really special with him. And then Nick Martinelli's just like a vibes guy. I fuck with all the picks. Like,
okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited, dude. I'm happy. I trust our front office when it comes to picks, dude. I don't know what it is. I don't know how they do it, but it just seems like they never, I don't want to say they never miss, but it just seems like they hit on at least one pick every single season. So,
but especially in the second round, Summer League's going to be awesome. Let's touch on what you said. Like, my worry wasn't necessarily with the second round picks. I think Lawrence Frank does a really good job in the second round. I was a little bit nervous to see what he would do drafting in the lottery for the first time in a long time. The last time that we drafted in the lottery, obviously we took Shai, and I think that was 2018 actually. Last time we drafted in the lottery was Shai, and that was with I think the 12th pick or 11th pick. And Jerry West was still with the team, so he had a say. So I was just a little nervous, but I think that overall, and obviously it's not like Keaton Wagler doesn't come without risk, but I'm really, really confident. And especially like in the following days after we took the pick, I was more and more confident in, what the vision was with Wagler. I mean,
right.
Lawrence Frank had a lot of good stuff to say in that presser, saying that Wagler went from being basically like a red shirt freshman at the beginning of the season to being the starting guard and leading Illinois to, the furthest they'd gone in like 20 something years. Mm-hmm. And like that just showed, and he was saying that like based on what he learned about Wagler and stuff, it just shows like an ability to adapt and to grow and to take challenges as they come and not shy away from the moment. So yeah, I'm really excited for Summer League. I wish I was going to be able to go this year. Won't be able to, unfortunately, but I will absolutely be tuning into every game. The thing that I wanted to ask you, Rola, and kind of segue into the next thing that we're going to talk about is I was going to talk about like the roster as it appears and as it exists right now. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Keaton Wagler should start next to Darius Garland, or do you think that the Clippers should bring him off the bench to start the season?
I think that he should start next to Darius Garland. I think it's important.
Sorry, continue.
I think it's important to have him play alongside a guard who is legit. I mean, I think playing alongside Darius Garland, Keaton Wagler is gonna get a lot of open shots. Darius Garland is really good at and very shifty and able to drive in, draw in two players and knock it out to Keaton Wagler, who is a knockdown 3-point shooter. So I think it'll be. I think he'll do great next to Darius Garland. Obviously, we'll see how the season goes, and we'll see how they mesh and see how they play alongside each other. But I think he should start personally. How about you?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because as it stands right now, like the Clippers roster is very, very thin, very light. Like the for sure, guard rotation right now is obviously Darius Garland. And you have Chris Dunn, whose contract was guaranteed. Very glad that he's going to be back. I don't think that he gets traded. And then you have guys like Benedict Mathurin, who we're still waiting to see if the Clippers match any offer that he receives in restricted free agency. You have Jordan Miller, who the Clippers are still working out a deal with. The Clippers were able to come to a deal with Kobe Sanders. I know Kobe Sanders is kind of more of a forward. But the Kobe Sanders 4-year, $11 million deal, great deal, by the way. I'm a huge fan of Kobe Sanders and what he was able to do last season. But yeah, the Clippers are still working on a deal with, from what I understand, working on a deal with Jordan Miller to try and extend him. But outside of that, really, it's just, Gradey Dick, if he stays with the team, Cam Christie, and that's really about it in terms of guard depth. I mean, obviously you have like two-way guys like Sean Padula and stuff, but there are still moves to be made. There's a case to be made that Chris Dunn should start the season next to Darius Garland because it is a known commodity. But I think at this point, I think the Clippers would be doing themselves a disadvantage unless we added like a star level, like a young star level shooting guard, or if Benedict Mathurin, absolutely obliterated training camp if we decided to bring him back and he was more poised to be the starting two guard. But I think that Clippers would be doing themselves a disadvantage by not starting the guy that they took with the 5th pick in the draft. I think that that is an area of the draft, like players should have enough clout being taken with the 5th pick, and if they fit next to the guy that they're starting next to be given the benefit of the doubt to start. So I would like to see him start. Obviously, if it doesn't go well, or if he needs a little bit more time, because it is going to take some time for him to get to the player that we need him to be. But if it doesn't start out great out of the gates, I'm completely okay with starting a guy like Chris Dunn. I mean, Chris Dunn is a battle-tested guy. We've seen what he can do. Love Chris Dunn. But yeah, the Clippers roster is very interesting right now. Obviously, shout out to the guys that we lost. They didn't die. I know it sounded that way. But shout out to the guys that are no longer with the Clippers. Bogdan Bogdanovic is now with the Rockets. I think he'll be great for them. Love Bogey just didn't work out for the team. His body isn't holding up the way that it used to. John Collins is now with the Pistons. There was an agreed upon deal, 3-year, $51 million deal, which is interesting because he was a restricted free agent, I think. The Pistons signing that deal, and I know that the first year of the deal is the only year that's guaranteed, but I believe by doing this, the Pistons hard cap themselves, so I think there's a chance that John Collins is headed to the Pistons on a sign-in trade, and if that's the case, I'd be interested to see who the Clippers get back. If everything stays the same, I think from what I understand, there's like a $12 million, $14 million traded player exemption that the Clippers can use. It's interesting because that in and of itself, I think, can put the Clippers pretty close to the second apron. I'm still super confused by the whole cap situation, but that leads me to believe that there are more moves to be made if the Clippers want to operate as a team below the cap. And have enough money to maybe sign somebody this year or the next year. Right. So definitely still some moves to be made. Obviously, Nico Batum, I think that he either opted out of his player option or the team declined his team option. I love Nico Batum. I would even love to bring him back on a minimum as like just a legacy thing. I think he's a great locker room guy. He's like, to me, one of the most important and beloved role players that the Clippers have ever had. But with that being said, I think just with his ability now and his age and stuff, I think it's probably a good idea to retire. Sign him to a 1-day contract or a 10-day contract. Have him retire as a Clipper.
Yeah, give him 1 day, sure. But like he was basically useless.
It was kind of sad and brutal.
A lot of those inbounding mistakes were
those were bad.
For a veteran to be making those silly mistakes, that was pretty tough to watch. So I mean, sign him to a 1 day if he wants to retire, but I don't think he is necessarily needed on the Clippers anymore.
Yeah, it sucks to say, but I mean, like, that is just how things go, and I will always love Nico Batum. I would love for him to come back as like an assistant coach or something like that.
Damn.
I think that would be really cool.
Crazy.
Another guy that the one guy that I'm just like, ugh. So the Clippers opted into the $9 million team option for Brook Lopez. I'm a huge fan of Brook Lopez as a person, his body of work during his career. But talk about rough, man. Last season was rough for Brook Lopez.
Who else would we?
Well, it's interesting though, because like I think that there's a chance that he might get moved in a trade coming down the line. And if he's our starting center,
who else are we going to trade?
I mean, Derek Jones is still under contract. I don't want to see Derek Jones leave.
Yeah, that would be a horrible, horrible move.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's really not a whole lot of other guys that we can trade, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you can move Gradey Dick and Brandon Ingram if a player of an extremely high caliber presents themselves.
No.
But yeah, so Brook Lopez will probably be the starting center for the Clippers going into this season. Not super thrilled on that. I think there are worse options, obviously. But I think once Yannick gets back and gets healthy and is ready to play at a high level, I think the Clippers need to start Yannick like yesterday. Like once he's healthy. I think that he's ready for that challenge.
He's really good.
He's really, really good. So yeah, I mean, obviously I said Derek Jones, and then we have the new guys, Boba Miller, Nick Martinelli. I really hope that the Clippers can come to an agreement with Jordan Miller soon. I want him back.
I think he'll be back.
But I hope so. And then we have Isaiah Jackson still, who obviously I don't think that he's tall enough to be like a starting level center. But I love Isaiah Jackson. I would love him coming off the bench and providing that center depth. So that, and aside from that, that's really what the roster is for the Clippers. So Roland, my next question for you is, based on the players that we have, and if any trades are to be made, or any moves are to be made, who would you like to maybe see the Clippers add? Just because someone needs to be added, right? The Clippers have no power forward depth, really. They could probably use another center, another big body, unless Boba Miller gets playing time, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Are there any players or any names that you can think of that the Clippers should add? I've heard that the Clippers are still interested in maybe making a trade for Trey Murphy. Would that be something that you'd be interested in? What do you think?
To be honest with you, I don't think that there's anyone on this Clipper team, or there's anyone out there that will impact this Clipper team as much as what's already happened. I mean, I think our starting lineup already is pretty solid. If I wanted to see someone come in, it'd probably be a center over Brook Lopez. I think the reason why Brook Lopez may be valuable is the guy is a stretch center, and he can hit the three at a pretty high clip historically. So
yeah, but he's molasses slow, dude.
He is molasses slow.
Yeah, that was so rough.
He's very slow. But if you're talking about, okay, you're looking at Yannick, who we want to be our future center. You want to have a guy who can like teach him, a vet center that can like help guide Yannick along. I mean, one of our biggest issues with Yannick was that he was a little immature in his decision making on the court, and I think that he needed a vet center to kind of teach him the rights and wrongs of being a center in the NBA.
That's a good point. And like Brook Lopez is a really good. He's a really good locker room guy. He's a great professional. So
he's a champion. So
he's a champion. Yeah.
You want to hear the words of someone who's been there, who's been at the top of the mountain, who knows what it takes to be a championship level center. And that's what we all see from Yannick. And I don't know. I don't think that we add a piece that is going to be, like going to change our team. I mean, we have Derek Jones Jr. As long as he's on the team, I mean, our starting lineup is pretty solid.
I'm thinking, what would it be? Like you'd have Darius Garland, Keaton Wagler at the 3. You can have
Brandon
Derek
Ingram.
Jones Brandon Ingram, of course. Okay, so
Derek
Brandon
Jones.
Ingram, Derek Jones, and then Brook.
Brooke
and
until
then
Yannick gets back.
True. So
Either one of them.
The interesting thing too is the Ben Mathurin thing, which we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
If, let's say, for the sake of argument, there's a team that offers Benedict Mathurin like a $21 million a year contract. Let's say that they offer him like a 3-year, $63 million contract. Would that be something that you would want the Clippers to match? Or do you think that's too steep and you would have to let him walk?
I'll say this. I think towards the end of the season, Ben Mathurin had a couple rough games, but when it mattered most in the game that Kawhi choked and got shut down completely by Draymond Green, Benedict Mathurin was the best player on the court.
He looked really good. Yeah.
So,
and we've seen it too with the Pacers. Sorry to interject, but we saw it with the Pacers. Like, the dude has an ability to kind of step up when the games mean something, like especially in the postseason, which I really, really like about him.
Me too. I say we match within reason anything and everything.
Do you think $21 million a year is reasonable?
I do. I think Ben Mathurin is that good. I think he is a game-changing type of player. I think when you need someone to hit a shot and get points up on the board, he's that guy. He will draw a foul. He will hit a big 3. And he will raise the intensity of the game and the intensity of the team. And that's just, I feel like it's him and Chris Dunn. Those are the 2 guys on the team that can do that for the team. So I do think it's important that we keep him, and I do think it'll be a big loss if we lose him.
I kind of agree with you, I kind of agree with you, and the reason is, so you have Darius Garland, who's owed, I think, $43 a year for this upcoming year and the following year.
Okay.
So let's say that we match the $21 million a year offer for Benedict Mathurin. Let's say that, I mean, that's kind of a steep price to have someone come off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Because as it stands right now, I think Benedict Mathurin will come off the bench unless Keaton Wagler doesn't start. But I think that if Benedict Mathurin looks like he's living up to and maybe exceeding that $21 million a year contract, and he's becoming like a really valuable part of the team, I think that there's a world where maybe you try and ship out Darius Garland for the last year of his contract, and you start Keaton Wagler at the point, you put Benedict Mathurin at the 2. Those guys can coexist, and that's the beauty of Keaton Wagler is like he could play point, he can play shooting guard, so you're not necessarily locked into Darius Garland. I'm not saying I've loved Darius Garland, I've been a fan of him for a long time, love what we saw in the short time that he was with the Clippers. I don't want to move on from him necessarily, but I'm saying now you have the option with both Darius Garland and Keaton Wagler that if Benedict Mathurin, just so that we can retain him, we extend the offer. Or we match the offer, and if he plays good to the point where he needs to be starting, you have the option to be able to move on from Darius Garland and have Keaton start at the point. So, like, all that to say, I would like to see Benedict Mathurin in a Clipper jersey. I would hope maybe it would be something a little less than 20, but if that's the case, I mean, he's still super young. I would imagine that there's teams out there that are really interested in adding a talent like his. He's still so young and he's so talented that I would hate to see him go. And I think that it's worth it. Like, we're not offering a $21 million contract to an old guy like we normally do, right? This would be a guy that still has growing to do and still has value in terms of a future. So I would like to see the Clippers do what they can to bring Benedict Mathurin back. Obviously, Jordan Miller. Like, those guys are important to try and retain. Sorry, do you hear my dog barking right now?
Yeah, no, but you're...
Okay. Yeah, so to me, it's pretty important to try and retain Benedict Mathurin, like you said, within reason. But I mean, I kind of guess this leads me into my next and probably final talking point of this episode. And what are your expectations for this team? Like, if the Clippers don't do a whole lot and they keep this, the general nucleus of the team as it stands right now, this team might not win, close to the amount of games that we maybe expected the previous team to win. And they might be a play-in team and stuff like that. But do you think the trade-off is worth it to try and, start guys like Keaton Wagler, or maybe even fuck around and start Baba Miller at the 4 at some point this season next to Yannick, like some really weird young lineups? The growing pains that come with doing that and the losses that will inevitably come, do you think that that's worth it? Do you think that it's worth it to have that kind of season?
I think that we're going to be shocked at how good this team is. I mean, it's not like we have scrubs on the team.
Sure.
I mean, if we get Ben Mathurin back, I mean, we have a former champ 2 years ago, or Eastern Conference champ, finals bound player in Ben coming off the bench. We have a potential all-star in Darius Garland. We have another all-star in Brandon Ingram. We have a number 5 pick in Keaton Wagler. Like, we would have a really good team. We have Chris Dunn, who can lock in on defense. Derek Jones Jr., who can lock in on defense and hit big shots. I mean, I think I think most people would be shocked at how good we're going to be. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if we end up in the same spot in that play-in area that we did last year.
Okay, so sorry, continue, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Yeah, I think that this is a good team. I think this is a solid team. I think this is a team that superstars are going to see, or stars are going to see towards the end of the season, or stars, role players, and want to join the team, join the movement.
Very similar to the team that we saw before Kawhi came.
Exactly.
That 18-19 team.
Exactly. And, obviously we don't know how good Keaton Wagler is going to be, but if he turns out to be something like insane, I think that this is a good starting point for a championship level team. Like I said earlier in the episode, I mean, we have young players. We have guys that have won in the past. We have guys, that are all-star level players, and that's, really all you can ask for in a team going into this season.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to name, just off the top of your head, if you were to name a seed that you think the Clippers will finish the regular season at, you said a play-in team. If you were to just pick a seed that you think the Clippers will finish at, and then give a record too, what you think the Clippers record will be. If at the Clippers team as it stands right now, I still think more moves are going to be made, but if this Clipper team goes on into the season and rolls it out like this, how many games do you think this team's winning? What seed do you think they're going to finish at?
I don't even remember what our record was. 42-40. Dude, I think that we finished the 9th seed last season. I could see us finishing 9 again, 9 or 10. I think it'll be again, how the Western Conference is. I think it'll be a really close, tight last 4 teams, the play-in teams. So I think we're going to be one of those. I think we're going to be, unfortunately, on the bottom half. You never know. And I think that our record will be I think we will just break 40 wins.
Okay.
So I guess 40 and 42.
Okay.
I think that'll be our record to get us into the play-in. Once we're in the play-in, man, low key, Brandon Ingram is good at these play-in type of games, man.
He's a closer.
So I could see us making it to the playoffs. Unfortunately, if we do make it to the playoffs, we are gonna get torched by OKC. Or sorry,
and that's
yeah,
okay.
I guess it would be OKC, dude, unless the Spurs somehow have a beast season, which I don't really see being better than OKC. Yeah, that'll be okay. That'll get experience for our young guys, and we'll come back. I mean, we look at the Pistons, a team that had turned it around basically in 1-2 seasons. I think that even if we get torched, we make it to the playoffs. Even if we get torched by OKC, that'll be a real life blueprint of where we want to get. That'll be a real life blueprint for Keaton Wagler to see. This is someone who plays, who isn't super athletic, doesn't have all the stereotypical like NBA qualities, and is the best player in the league. That's the blueprint for Keaton Wagler, and he'll get to see it in real time, in real life, in a playoff atmosphere. So I could see that being a silver lining if we do somehow get the 8th seed. But yeah, like I said, I think we'll be a play-in level team.
I love that
opinion?
And I kind of shadow that same sentiment. Like I said, I do think that there's like 1 or 2 more moves to be made. I know that the Clippers have been in rumblings about trying to find a way to acquire Peyton Watson from the Nuggets. I was thinking maybe Tari Eason would be on the table. He did just sign a 5-year, like $80-something million contract with the Rockets. But a big forward of that same caliber, I think is someone that the Clippers could really use. But for the sake of argument, like I was saying, if the Clippers were to run out this lineup and this roster with maybe just a couple pieces around the ends, I do think that I think that's a realistic finish to the season. 40 and 42, just below 500. And I think regardless, if the Clippers don't keep up their winning season streak, which to be honest, it's awesome and I love that, and it just shows how good of a franchise and how solid of a franchise the Clippers have been for so long. Which was not the case prior to that. I mean, like it's really important, and it doesn't get lost on me as a fan how far the Clippers have come. But I think that if we're trading that in for the ability to really give these young guys and these hungry guys like the ability to prove themselves in a season where the expectations are low, similar to the 18-19 season, where the Clippers took that Golden State team to 6 games when they had no business doing that. That to me is worth it. And whether it means enticing another free agent to sign with the Clippers like we did with Kawhi, or just building upon what we already have, like that is extremely worth it to me. And I would be happy to see a team that makes the play-in, maybe makes a first-round series, gives a team, a lot of trouble, shows their stuff. These young guys get their reps. To me, that's what I'm looking forward to the most. And I'm just like, all that to say, I'm just really, really excited for the direction of this team. And I hope that it continues to move into an upward trajectory. But I think that really, I mean, Rola, unless you had anything else you wanted to touch on, I mean, I think you kind of knocked it out of the park. I think the optimism is really high with Clipper fans.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that the general direction of this team is up, and that's something to be really proud of. Obviously, it sucks to see the old regime go. Like the moments that they brought to this team and to the fans, to the franchise. It doesn't get lost on us, but I think the Clipper fans, for the most part, are really excited to see something new, and that doesn't, we're no exception. So, I think that pretty much does it, guys. There's been a bunch of moves around the league, a bunch of players, a bunch of former Clippers moving around. We'll probably talk about that on the next episode once kind of the dust settles, and maybe how that applies to the Clippers. Who do we think now are the Clippers' toughest opponents now that things are changing around so much? But for the time being, we'll keep it in-house. We'll keep it strictly Clippers. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Clip Service Podcast. As Rola said up top, you can watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Deezer. Give us a follow on Instagram and on Twitter. Let us know what you guys thought about the crazy month that the Clippers have had. Crazy in a good way.
Seriously.
Month that the Clippers have had. What you guys are most excited for. Who you're going to miss the most out of the old guard. Let us know everything that you guys think, because a lot has happened and a lot has changed. So we'd love to hear all of that. Comment, like, subscribe, all of that. And then tune into Summer League. Summer League is right around the corner, so I'm really excited for that. But it ain't no lip service. This has been Clip Service. Clipper Nation, give a round of applause for this team, because we've come a long way. Rola, tell the people what they want to hear.
Let's go Clips!
Let's go Clips.